Maple PhD, and a few months ago I brought you a video that was my top 3 games that are rated under 10,000 on Board Game Geek, and I thought we would come up a little bit in the ratings and find a few more underrated gems. This time I'm looking at my favorite 3 games that are ranked between 8,000 and 999. So without further ado, let's get started on these underrated gems. My number 3 is Deep Shelf, which was rated 8305 when I looked it up. Of course, these are going to move around a little bit, but it is still under 8,000. This is a game brought to you by the same folks who did Dinogenics, which is to me another underrated game, but not quite as underrated as this one. In Deep Shelf, players are exploring the ocean floor, mining it for materials, building up labs and mining equipment, exploring around with their little rovers, and of course, trying to get the most points. Now, currently, I've only played it at 2 players. It is a sprawling game, even at 2, but we have really enjoyed all of our plays of this. The main mechanism is playing cards from your hand. You're going to play 2 cards on your turn. The first card will go in the first slot, and the second in the second slot. But if on the cards there is basic action, and sometimes there is a power action. If you play your card in the first slot, you don't get the power action. If you play it in the second slot, you do get the power action, and then that card becomes overworked and not available to you during your next turn. And this gets really tricky and for me causes a bit of brain burniness, but in the best possible way. Because sometimes you want to play that card first because you need a few things set up in order to play the second card. But if that first card has the power up that you are planning on, you have to play it second. But then you have to be willing to not be able to play that card again for another turn. And so there's just a lot going on, a lot of planning ahead of how you want to build out things, what actions you want to be able to take. And so some of those actions, like I said, are building up your network. You're going to build tubes that are things that you can basically move through. You're going to have these little rovers moving around to see what the different tiles are and explore those. You get to upgrade your submarine and your storage, so you might get some abilities that other people don't get. And then from the beginning of the game, you have one superstructure, which is unique to your corporation, I think is what it's called, that you'll get to build at some point, and that will give you another unique ability that others don't have. I really like how much is going on in this game. I like that idea of exploration. I like the brain burniness of the card play. And so this one to me is really just an underrated gem, and that is Deep Shelf. My number 2 happens to be another ocean-themed game, but a very, very different scale, and that is Let Them Eat Shrimp. Now, this one was at 9682 when I looked, and it is a game that is about placing tiles on a board, on a shared board. What you are doing is you'll have this shared board in front of you that shows different fish egg packets in various places. And you will place out these different shaped tiles on them. And whatever you cover are tiles that you will get to play later. It is a very simple mechanism. I love pulling this one out like during dinner time. It takes just 20 minutes or so to play. It's super easy to explain to other people, but at the same time, there are some advanced rules that will give you special powers or force you to play your tiles in various ways. Like the advanced rule is you'll have one of each tile, and each round you have to play one of each tile, but then you also need to make sure that you have one of each tile for the beginning of the next round, which you'll put out in front of you. And that just adds another dimension to the game that, has you planning ahead instead of just figuring out your best move right now. But what is my best move right now that sets me up and makes sure that I have what I need for next round? And so that's Let Them Eat Shrimp, another one of my underrated gems. And my number 3 is Super Skill Pinball Holiday Special. This one was ranked at 8,017 when I checked. It is the, I think, fourth in the series of super skilled pinball games, so I understand why maybe this one isn't as highly ranked. It is also tied to the Christmas holidays, and so, it's something that may or may not hit the table quite as often for people, but it has just as much fun and excitement as any of the other super skilled pinball games. And I love the nostalgia of the pin boards that they chose. There's A Christmas Story and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and Elf. And so as you're playing these, I'm thinking about those Christmas specials, which I possibly have recently watched whenever I'm playing these or am about to watch, and looking forward to seeing them again. And so it's all the same mechanisms as Super Skill Pinball, where you have a ball moving around your board, someone's rolling dice, and you need to use one of them to constantly move your ball down, hoping to hit those flippers at the right time in order to keep that ball going. But you can also do multi-ball, which means you have to use both dice, and very confusing, but points are doubled and it's a lot of fun, just like real pinball. So that is my third underrated gem, Super Skill Pinball Holiday Edition. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have some underrated gems, especially if they are below 8,000 on Board Game Geek. And I will do this again, maybe going up again in the rankings and finding a few less underrated gems next time. In the meantime, though, you can follow me on Instagram and Blue Sky as MeeplePhD. I have a blog at meeplephd.com, and enjoy your time gaming.